Welcome to the Blue Testament video podcast, whatever. I got to come up with some better name. I'm not really that, I'm not this kind of like host guy. That's why we need a Cody, but he's not good. Probably should have Jimmy do it since he's like more pro about this stuff. But I'm Thad Bell from the Blue Testament. Everybody want to introduce yourself, start up. I don't know if you guys are in the same order that I see you in. Jimmy's in the top left for me.
Jimmy Mack, writer for Blue Testament and host of No Other Pod.
Stacey?
Stacey, would you like to go next?
Sure. I'm Stacey Folk, and I am, I guess, a writer at the Blue Testament.
And
Chad
commercial
Smith.
star.
Oh, that's right.
If I could have my commercial, but they've been put on hold for now, so little glimpses of me every once in a while.
And finally, I'm Chad Smith, also writer on the Blue Testament.
You're strategically backlit, so we can't see you very well.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I'm in a Flagstaff Airbnb. I'm not at my home. I would have had a much better setup with a proper mic, but you know.
No problem. Trying to get like some of these going. So the big news for now is the draw for the MLS's back tournament. What'd you guys think of the draw? I mean, Stacey, let's go with you first.
I think our draw looks pretty good. I think there's some questions on how like legit the draw was. It seems very strategically placed people, but we'll take it because I think our draw looks pretty decent.
I would say, like, outside of this season, it looks good, right? Because historically, you think Colorado is not a good team. Minnesota, like, they kind of got good last year all of a sudden. And then RSL, you know, hated rival or whatever. But none of them sound great. But then you look at the records, and Minnesota's undefeated, Colorado's undefeated, we're undefeated. And obviously just 2 games, but, you know.
Yeah, it is the 3 strongest teams in the first apertura of the season.
I do think it's interesting. You know, Stacey kind of alluded to it. I'm going to go full tinfoil hat here, I guess, and say someone texted me before. They're like, LAFC and LA Galaxy are going to end up in the same group. SKC and RSL are going to end up in the same group. Toronto and Montreal are going to end up in the same group. Obviously, they already put Orlando and Miami in the same group. The one thing that we didn't really get, I guess, is Seattle-Portland. But my theory is whoever was making the picks for Seattle, they just forgot the number they were supposed to choose, and they accidentally chose Dallas instead of Portland, because if you just swap those 2 teams, then you get perfect rivalries across the board. So, you know, that's
it's pretty much that way.
Yeah.
I did kind of wonder if I was going the full tinfoil hat version here, they may have thrown a couple off just to make it look not so perfect.
It's true.
And Seattle still has Vancouver in their group.
Yeah. So there you go.
Then, you know, when we see the final brackets, it'll probably be Portland would meet Seattle if they, you know, after, because like there'll be a West playing East, but then after that it could be. Yeah, it looked awful suspicious. Like as soon as there were people reporting that Miami was going to play Orlando in the first game, I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Your website says if it's a draw.
Yeah. So it was one of those things where it's like MLS was trying so hard to say, we promise it's a live draw. We promise we're not going to rig it. How would we possibly rig it? It's not like we could just write down numbers on a piece of paper and tell them what to choose. But it kind of, it fell how it did. But I'm excited because, I mean, we've seen RSL, we've seen Colorado, we've seen Minnesota so many times that, you know, just from the standpoint of what we'll see on the field, I think I mean, I guess you could make the counter argument that they know Sporting KC as well as we know them, but I think it sort of helps Sporting KC's chances given how well we started the year, even though it was just 2 games, but we started the year so strong. And then just, you know, the history between SKC and RSL over the last, you know, 7-8 years, Minnesota being the friendliest rivalry in the league, they call it. And then obviously Colorado, I think it's going to be a fun group.
Yeah. The one nice thing I like about the draw is that in my logic, I don't know if this will work out, but teams that they play in the group stage down there, we probably won't see them at Sporting Park after when the regular season starts back up again, if it starts back up again. Because they'll have already played a regular season game against those teams. It'll be a little bit less likely we see them, and more likely we see a LAFC or Seattle, a more exciting team.
It's true.
So I'm tired of seeing Colorado and RSL.
Yeah, it felt kind of like US Open Cup-y, right? Where you get these like same matches over and over again. And I was thinking too, from a standpoint of if the league is going to resume after this MLS back tournament is over, which is the plan, right? You would think they'd want the Sporting to play teams that were geographically closer to them, less travel to get to these places, right? Now they are going to potentially have to travel to several Cascadia teams, the LA teams. And I feel like that's a missed opportunity. Like if you were thinking about beyond, what's that schedule look like beyond this tournament?
Yeah, of course they'll be chartering flights anyway, because I mean they're going to anything that comes back this year will be all charter flights, I'm sure. And fans may not be in a bunch of those anyway, so the closer teams won't matter in that regard.
That's fair. You won't have to worry about road runs or anything like that going on because, you know, they won't be able to get in. Maybe they'll all be gathered outside, though. You never know. So maybe they're trying to take that out of the equation by playing your geographic rivals first.
Ooh, that would assign a little more intelligence to them than I want to do. But.
My question for you guys, I guess, is like, how much stock or how excited are you really for this tournament? Like, is this one that you think fans will really sort of embrace? And like, is this going to be something where like 3-4 years down the road, let's say Sporting KC wins it, are we going to look back and be like, we were the MLS's back champions? Or what?
Terrible name, right? Like, it's not like it's got some cool trophy. What are they going to put, like MLS's back, like in giant letters, like made out of like silver hardware? I don't know. Like, it's cool. I'm excited because it's soccer and I just want to see soccer. But beyond that, I don't know that the title's just so bad, right? I guess it's simple from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah, I was listening to somebody on the radio. I don't remember who it was, so I apologize to whoever you were. But they actually thought it was a decent name because it's something you have to come up with on a short notice. You have to. It tells you exactly what it is. It's not anything overly, grandiose or anything like that. But it's one of those like simple, tells you what it is and gets it over with. So in that regard, it works. Maybe the trophy could be like, customized masks.
There you go. Right.
Like the championship t-shirts they hand out, it'll be like with the mask.
Yeah, I don't know about like the longevity of the excitement of it. Like years down the road, are we going to be like, yeah, that was exciting? But just being able to see teams in like live action, like I think that will be enough to get fans interested, invested, watching. Maybe even some people who don't usually watch since there's nothing else really back yet.
Yeah.
I think that's a good point, is that there won't be a lot of other sports to compete with them. The NWSL will be starting up their tournament somewhere around the same time. USL will be, in theory, starting around the same time. But other than that, MLS, I don't know when the NBA is supposed to start up. I forget now. But
end of July.
So
baseball may never come back for all we know. So.
Never again.
Even the baseball fans that I know, like one of my daughter's soccer coaches, he goes to spring training. In fact, he was at spring training and it got cut off while he was down there. He's a huge baseball fan, has like all these little minor league teams and all this stuff. And he always has like he takes another little short vacation before the kids' soccer season starts up. And he was just on that. And he's like, I would have been watching baseball games, listening to it on the radio and all that. He goes, I've been reading books and listening to podcasts, and I don't even miss baseball. They're killing themselves right now by not doing something.
Yeah. I guess the one interesting thing about this tournament, like obviously outside of whether there's longevity to it or not, but it sort of feels like, I know as far as I know, they haven't officially announced the US Open Cup's not happening this year, but it sort of feels like this is kind of the replacement for the US Open Cup. And I assume that's where they're taking the CCL spot from. Is normally the winner of the US Open Cup goes to the CCL. And now they're saying the winner of this tournament will go to the CCL. So I'm connecting some dotted lines or some dots there, but that's kind of what my thinking is, but I don't know.
So they did actually announce that the CCL spot's going to be the one that would usually go to like the regular season person that doesn't win their conference or win the supporter shield. So it's that other team that the spot that gets given out. So that's where it's coming
interesting.
from.
It's an MLS slot, not a Open Cup slot, but it could end up. Who knows? Because they could end up rewarding the runner-up in the MLS's back tournament, the Open Cup spot or something later too.
Yeah, and they said even the Canadian teams could win because usually, in the U.S. Open Cup, obviously Toronto, Montreal, and Vancouver wouldn't be in, but they're in this and they can win at that spot that way.
That's true.
Which is why I can't ever count them as having a treble because they don't have a real competition.
Yeah. Did you guys watch the Sporting Game Night when they were talking about like most titles won and they were talking about, regional or I don't know what they titled it. And I was like, oh, it's Toronto because they're talking about Canadian championships, which don't count, like who had more trophies than Sporting. So basically it's really nobody, but it's kind of Toronto. So
It's kind of Toronto because they played in their historic like 14 tournament.
Yeah, that was since 2012, to be fair, because obviously there are teams that have won more trophies than Sporting lifetime. So,
okay. So you mentioned trivia night. I have a trivia question for you. No Googling real quick.
Oh boy.
What MLS team has the most losses in their entire league losses in their entire history?
Ooh.
Does anybody
got to go original 10, right?
It's got to be one of the
original
originals.
10.
Or, yeah, first couple of years maybe. Man,
It's tough.
Chicago?
That was my guess.
I'm going to go Colorado. Chicago, I know, was an expansion team at least a year or two in. So
Yeah,
I'm going to go Colorado.
Chad's got it.
Colorado.
330 losses.
But they're 2-0 in 2020.
Runner-up, I think, and I could be wrong on this one, but I think the runner-up is another original team.
Columbus?
Ooh.
This always makes for good podcasting when we're just silently
Dallas,
thinking, right?
No, but
Dallas, formerly known as the Dallas Burn.
Burn, yeah.
No.
Stacey, you got a guess?
Trivia is not my thing.
She's just trying to stay silent, like nobody looked. No.
Right.
I think it's New England with 320,
That makes sense.
which is interesting because they were actually good for a few years.
Yeah.
Remember, they went to,
I do remember them losing a lot of MLS Cups. That's true.
So they had to be good to get there, or at least reasonably
Exactly.
good. But they had to be really bad to suck it up after that. So in Chicago, I mean, a few less years, and they actually were good for a number of those early.
Yeah.
Yeah, they won as an expansion team, right? And record that'll probably never be broken. So, I mean, you can't break it. I guess you would just tie it. So,
Right.
So is there a group outside of SKC's group, obviously, that you guys are like most excited to watch the games for? I don't know if you have the groups up or not, but
I do have them in front of me. Do you guys want me to read them to you?
Actually,
So we got
go ahead.
Group A is Orlando, Miami, NYCFC, Philly, Chicago, and Nashville. You're looking at that group. That's just a bunch of winners, right?
Right.
So harsh.
Between them, right?
And then they get 2 to 3 bids out of those 16. So they're kind of getting the short end of the stick there. All those expansion teams wedged together. B is Seattle, Dallas, Vancouver, San Jose. C is Toronto, New England, Montreal, DC. D is, of course, Sporting's group with RSL, Colorado, Minnesota. E is Atlanta, Cincy, Red Bulls, and Columbus. And F is LAFC, LA Galaxy, Houston, and Portland. I really just care about Sporting.
Yeah, I will probably watch most all the games though, just because it'll be something I remotely care about more than the 10th team in the Bundesliga.
it's true.
Right. I think that Group F has the possibility of having some at least exciting games to watch with both LA teams, Houston,
Portland,
right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it has the potential to be interesting, at least, like some maybe better matchups than like Group A that might not be so good. But
I love the disgust at which you said Houston.
sorry, I went and watched a game in Houston a couple of years ago.
So sorry.
It's not fun.
You were the only person there, right?
I think there were more Sporting people there than Houston fans, I'm pretty sure. But
Yeah, that makes sense. I know I saw some Houston fans on Twitter when after like the draw was all said and done and they saw that group, like one tweet I saw, they were like, well, we had a good run. Like they're already given up because they know they're not getting out of that group.
Did you see Merritt Paulson talking about his group, saying they got put into the toughest? Merritt Paulson is the owner, right, of Portland, I believe, and saying they got put in the toughest group, and that Seattle's group is soft, which Seattle's group is a little soft. If you had to pick a soft Western Conference group, the one with Vancouver and San Jose and a young Dallas team, it's maybe not the greatest, but the West is pretty tough. So, which he did concede in the end. He did say that the West is much better than the East.
So let's see. Out of Group A, I think NYCFC and Philadelphia. Out of Group B, Sounders and Dallas-ish. I don't know. That could be San Jose too.
San Jose, yeah.
Group C, Toronto and New England or DC.
Yeah, New England's kind of on the up and up, right? With Bruce Arenas coaching them, they've gotten some big players. They're a possibility.
The Group D, Sporting and Minnesota.
That's what I would say.
Love your confidence.
The Group E, Atlanta and Red Bulls or Columbus. Group F with the two LAs. This is the one thing caveat though. LAFC, because they talk about Vela may not go because of his wife being pregnant. And when he hasn't played, they have not been nearly as good.
And it's a 3-game tournament, right? It's really anything can happen in 3 games, right? You've seen World Cups where crazy things happen. I like the thing, going back to what Thad said, he's going to watch all the games. It's nice that you can watch all the games. We don't know where you can watch them yet. They'll tell us hopefully eventually, but at least they're all on not running over the top of each other. So you can make an effort to see them all, even if that first one's when you're probably at work in the morning.
Get up with a bowl of cereal. We'll start watching. Get off work, watch the other two. What I was told was they'll be on ESPN, Fox Sports, or Univision.
Yeah.
And any of them that are not like Fox Sports or Univision should probably be on ESPN Plus also. So you should be able to watch a majority of them even that way. And I would guess a lot of the Eastern Conference teams will get the 8 o'clock games, but not all of them.
Yeah, I would think that's probably the case. I mean, it is pretty cool that, sort of like you were saying, you're going to be able to watch a game with your breakfast, or like if you are fortunate enough to have a place at your work where you can kind of put a game on your computer while you're at work in the morning, or if you don't work, and then finish off your day watching 2 more games. And it's 3 games every day, national TV for all the games. There's going to be so much MLS. It's going to be pretty fun.
So 3 games a day for 16 days, I believe, and then they'll start going into the knockout stuff. And even earlier when I'm saying these 2 teams from each group, it's going to be 4 third-place teams make it also. So a lot of those, when I said either this team or that team making it, it'll probably be both of them.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see because, like Chad said, it's only 3 games. So anything can happen, 1, just because it's only 3 games. But 2, who knows what sort of shape these teams will actually be in after 3-4 months of not playing any games. I mean, it's longer than any sort of off season usually is. And then they didn't really have a lot of time to train together, and they're playing in a weird environment. So this is one of those things where like anything really can happen.
Right. Like how much stock can you put into those first couple games of the season, right? Saying Sporting, Minnesota, Colorado. How are 2-0, right? Like, does that matter anymore when they've had that much time off? Who knows?
Not really.
Yeah, conditioning and timing and all that stuff. You got to start all over.
And remember how bad Sporting were in preseason. Like, the sky was falling on the internet. Everybody was losing their mind. And then they come out 2-0. Everybody's like, they're going to win the treble. It's all, they're going to get everything. Right. So it's the sways are so much. That said, I do think Sporting and Atlanta, teams that have been back to team training longer than the others, probably have a little bit of a leg up, right? Because especially the way those teams play, fitness matters so much, and the way they're pressing you. So that's got to carry some weight. Fitness
and the passing, the possession style, that'll matter a little bit more on that too. And a lot of high pressing may actually go against a lot of teams because they won't be quite as in shape, and it'll be Orlando, so where you're running in water pretty much.
Yeah, that heat.
Yeah, I just hope that, players like Alan Pulido and Gadi Kinda, they came out so strong so fast that, I hope that they can sort of get back into that form that they were in. I guess on one hand, you could say, well, they've had a lot more time to assimilate with their new teammates now, even if they haven't been able to like actually train as much as they would have by this point in the year. This will be technically their third game of the season, and they'll have trained together a lot more than they typically would have by the third game of the season. So maybe they'll know each other and their tendencies a little bit more, but hopefully they can just kind of pick up where they left off, and hopefully not having Felipe is not going to be too much of a downer for the team. I mean, we didn't need him necessarily those first 2 games, but I think anytime you lose a player of his caliber for the long term, it's not good.
Yeah, that will also be a very interesting story of who steps up to fill that other spot when it's because you know that Kinda, Gotti, and Roger cannot play the entire game, or Ilya of every game if they go deep. So who fills in? Is it Busio getting a lot of time? Is it Felipe Hernandez getting a lot of time? Who else?
Juan Kazane, yeah. I feel like there's going to have to be a lot of rotation, especially if they are able to resume the season after this tournament is done. And if they really do try to play just about a full slate of games, even if they go into like the end of December, that's going to be 3 games a week at times. So you're going to have to rotate players like we've never seen. So yeah, it'll be interesting.
There should be like an over/under bet on every week of how many subs actually Peter makes. I know people think that he doesn't make subs anymore, but he did he talked about in the 2 media availabilities yesterday, he did talk about how 5 subs would be very important, even more important than the European leagues because of being in Orlando. But then he also at one point said, I've seen how, changing 1 sub, 2 subs, 3 subs, the team can stay in sync. But when you do preseason and you wholesale change like 5 at a time, how it can completely throw a team off. So then it sounded like, maybe he doesn't want to do 5 after all.
Yeah, it'll be intriguing, right? Because there's all these new rules around making substitutions too. While you get 5, you still only get like 3 chances to make subs plus halftime, so kind of 4 chances. So at some point, you either have to make a double sub or not use them all. And it seems unlikely that he would use them all. I'm sure you guys saw, I keep going back to sporting game night. There's been nothing on. Beasler taking a little dig at Peter, saying like he'd have 2 players on the bench, but if we'd only use one of them. So yeah. That was good stuff.
I wonder if he'll be yelling at Seth when he's playing for New England.
Yeah. Well, you see, Zoran was like kind of mad. He didn't like that. He thought that was inappropriate. So maybe Zoran was backing up Seth all that time.
Yeah, it was funny. And kudos to Sporting. They've done some good content in this time that we've had nothing. The player commenting on the games and stuff like that. It's been fun. So kudos to them.
Yeah, I mean, got to be one of the hardest working teams in the league, right? It sounds like Peter and everybody submitted so much stuff. Like they had the new training plans, they had full scale practice plans, like all this stuff, plans to how to resume the season. Sounds like a lot of that, whether they went with the Kansas City ideas or not, that they proposed a lot of ideas, which I think Peter probably works like 90 hours a week or something crazy. Like I would never want that job. It sounds awful. So as much as we all want to like armchair quarterback, which obviously a terrible expression for soccer, but you get the idea. Monday morning quarterback this thing. I don't want that job. That sounds exhausting.
Thanks.
There is no doubt that Peter is one of the hardest working people in sports, and the staff around him. No doubt about that. Just the preparation that I've seen. Like a lot of people will think that he doesn't take certain things into account, or he does. He just may not agree with his decision when he makes them. I've seen his game plan notes from a distance, and they're thick, right? They're not just like sketched out a starting 11, the 1 sub you might use.
Yeah, one thing you can't accuse Peter of is not having some sort of like logic or thought behind his decisions.
Yeah,
like that he's thought through what it is he's doing, and like you said, people might not agree with it, and part of that might be they just might not have all the information Peter has. But I think if anything, he's and that's why when people were kind of calling for his job after last year or partway through last year, I was like, he has earned at least another season to try to right this ship. And if you think otherwise, then you haven't been paying attention.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it is what you say, is when people say that kind of stuff, they really come at it as they don't really know what they're talking about. So we lose.
You put it very nicely.
It has to be the coach's fault.
Stacey's much more polite than we are.
Yeah, there's, as long as Peter's been doing this, people have been calling for his head. Okay, and I don't want to pull like the old guy thing, but literally I've been hearing people call for his head the first week he got the job. Okay, because he should have not hired Onafo in the first place. And then they accuse him of setting Onafo up to fail so he could get his job, which was also stupid. I talked to Peter a long time before all that stuff happened. It was always a group decision of how they did things and stuff like this. There are people who just don't like Peter. There'll be people who don't like whatever coach is there. So I don't pay them much attention anymore. They're people who think that way are idiots.
Well, Speaking of preparation, I've been traveling, so I did a whopping 15 minutes to prepare for this podcast. I'm sure Peter would have put in a little bit more time. But when I was preparing, I watched a video on MLSsoccer.com about who the dark horses were, and Kiel picked the Colorado Rapids as the dark horse to win the whole thing. Thoughts?
I mean,
sure.
That would be a really dark horse, I think.
Yeah.
Like, very shocking.
That would be really hard for me to argue with right now, just because, I know, Kai's there, Diego's there. I can't remember who else is there right off the top of my head right now. They were an improving team last year. They did get better in the latter half with the coaching change. So maybe they are a dark horse in that regards, but that would still put them as a dark horse.
Yeah, they have a very solid back line. You'll give them that for sure, right? They have maybe the best center back setups in the league. That youth and talent at center back is kind of remarkable. So if you can play defense, especially in a tournament this small, you chip off some 1-0 wins, you never know.
You really don't even have to win in the group stage. Just 3 draws.
That's true. It's kind of crazy, right?
I mean, really the weird thing about MLS is like almost any team can be a dark horse and win this tournament. Now, like, I don't think Cincinnati has a chance to win this tournament, but, Nashville probably doesn't either. But, I mean, almost any other team, you go on a short little run and you can make some noise. That's why I always say, like, never bet on MLS, because it's like one of the most unpredictable leagues, at least in this country. You just never know what's going to happen on any given night.
Right, and you go back to that, it's only 3 games, right? So that whole thing that we were talking about earlier is anything can happen in 3 games. So who knows? Anybody could, probably not anybody, but a lot of teams could probably be a dark horse if you argued long enough.
And I haven't done the math, but I kind of wonder, in that poor 16 Group A, they said 4 third-place teams would go. I would hope that if the 4th-place team in Group A had more points than a 3rd-place team in another group, that they would pick them. But I mean, looking at that group, it doesn't look the strongest, but again, you never know. So
yeah, but they may not be strong, but they could be getting points just because they're going against teams that are not strong. So
yeah, they all beat each other, right? You got a bunch of teams with 3 or 4 points. It's like, right, maybe
it'll come down to goal differential and number of mosquitoes eaten or something.
I think they go with disciplinary points slightly ahead of the mosquito thing, but maybe.
It's Orlando. They should go with it.
Okay.
How many golf balls not lost in the weeds when they get to go on a golf? They should have something fun like that. It's a tournament, it's a one-off tournament. But like Stacey was asking earlier about how excited we are, but I actually am excited. I am. 3 weeks ago, I was like, yeah, tournament, yeah, okay. But damn, I'm just happy to see soccer. So, and I got thinking about it. If this goes well, maybe they could do a preseason tournament, like to start the season. Let the first 3 games count as regular season games. Do them as in host cities. I mean, do them in their actual cities because they could travel. But do it like a World Cup. Play a game. 3 days later, play a game. 3 days later, play a game. three regular season games out of the way. Then they could take a 2-week break for the teams who sucked and let them play the rest of the teams play, and then come back to the regular season. It'd be a like early season trophy.
There was talk of the NBA doing like a full every team going into a tournament in the middle of the season. And I thought, oh, that's intriguing, you know, because that's a very soccer model, right? Where the soccer has U.S. Cup in America, or overseas, you know, you have your different, you know, regional cups for your country. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. They're like trying to borrow from soccer a little bit here. But yeah, maybe there's something there. But although there's already so much fixture congestion, you wouldn't want to do it in the middle of the year, that's for sure.
Well, which is why I kind of thought like do it early in the year, get that out of the way. It would actually help clear up some congestion for teams. The teams that were not playing well would have a couple extra weeks to train and get their act together.
Nice save.
It would be interesting if Sporting wins this, though. Do they paint that on the wall?
It's kind of like what I was wondering before.
Special MLS is back. I don't know.
We've all seen the trophy case that they have, or I think we've all seen at least pictures of the trophy case they have in whatever it's called now. It was Pinnacle, and now it's the Compass Minerals, whatever training center. But like, I don't think they built any sort of trophy case for the MLS's back trophy, so they're gonna have to figure out where they want to put that, because there's no silhouette of it on the wall there.
There's some empty spots, though. There's some spots that they could move it around.
Okay, because they knew at some point MLS was probably going to make up another tournament that they needed to put a trophy in.
I think they had plans for being available for other things happening. So.
Fair enough.
All right, what else do we need to talk about before we run out of time today?
So do you guys want to pick potential who wins this whole thing?
Ooh, why not? Let's do it.
All right, you go first.
Oh, great. I should have opened my big mouth. Let's see here. For the whole thing, it's easy to go with a team like, you know, Toronto or Seattle, who consistently make it to the end, but Seattle is always garbage at the beginning of the season. So I'm going to knock them out for that. Oh gosh, this is tough. I would like, the easy answer would be Atlanta. The Twitter Nazis, but they would love it on Twitter. Oh my gosh, right? But no Joseph Martinez, right? Can they score goals without him? Do I pick Toronto? Is that lame? I don't know. What do you guys think? You go, and I'll think more.
You started it. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. I'm gonna go a little off the board here. I'm gonna go ahead and pick the Philadelphia Union. I think that group that they're in is not that great, so I think it's going to be them and NYCFC that get out of it. And then I think they've shown some promise over the last couple of years, and I think, you know, I don't think they're going to be, you know, one of the top few teams in the league if we do get a full season, but I do think that they're good enough and talented enough that they could put together a little run and win a strange little tournament like this.
Stacey, you want to go, or you're going to make me go?
I'll go. So I'm the eternal optimist. So I have to, I think that Sporting could win. Like, I honestly do think there's no reason why they couldn't, right? But I'm going to say Sporting and Minnesota come out of Group D, and I'm going to say maybe Minnesota pulls it out. They've looked pretty good at the beginning of the year. They looked pretty good towards the end of last season. So maybe they can build on that, start this remainder of the season with some of that confidence going, maybe.
Yeah. I'm going to go with Sporting also, just because, you know, I'm going to be the homer, but I think it'll be a really interesting challenge to see how Peter handles a tournament versus regular season. A short time tournament, not a long tournament over Champions League or Open Cup. I think it'll be interesting to see how well he goes for it. If he wins the group and gets out of it, does he care? You know what I mean? Because it's $1 million and a Champions League berth, or does he not really care and rest his guys and bring them home after one round?
Yeah.
Yeah, get those regular season points and move on.
Yeah. All right, Chad.
It'll be interesting to see if he rotates his squad fully in the round of 16, assuming, of course, they get out of the group. I feel like it's an utter failure if they don't at least get out of that group, though, right? Those are three regular season games, you got to go at them like he would go at any game, right? On 2 days rest, he'll play the starters. I'm sure I expect the starters all 3 of those games. And honestly, if you look at the schedule, I know it's not out yet, but the timeline, it's like 2.5-ish weeks between the first game and then the first round of 16 games. So there's a little bit of rest in there. But okay, I've looked at the list. I've tortured myself looking at it over and over here. And I've decided I'm going dark horse because they never win anything and it wouldn't count for anything because it's this made up tournament. I'm picking the New England Revolution.
All right.
Never know.
It's possible. They're a dark horse.
Quite honestly, other than about 5 teams, I think anybody could go on that run and win it at this point because there's so many unknowns. Nobody has a history of how these teams have been doing the last month. It's not a national team where you can look at them for over a year or 2 span kind of thing because teams are different now. So other than Orlando, Miami, Nashville, of course, Cincy, a lot of these teams could win it if they just got a little bit of luck.
I mean, it goes to PKs as soon as regulation is over too. So it's when we get to that round of 16 and on, anybody can win a shootout.
Yeah.
Yep.
And who knows if hopefully this doesn't happen and they're taking as many safety precautions as possible. But there's always the case, like what if one of the players, especially an important player, contracts coronavirus? It's in Florida. Cases are kind of rising in Florida right now. Again, hopefully none of this happens. They're going to be taking all the precautions they possibly can. But I mean, we've seen even with college football right now, they're doing these voluntary workouts and they're testing and trying to take all these precautions, but we're still seeing stories of 5 players on this team get tested and have positive results, 6 players on this team. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point during this tournament, a player or 2 do test positive. It's just kind of going to be a matter of who's the player that tests positive, what team are they on, and what part of the tournament is it at.
I do think that MLS will be more in a bubble than college football teams are. However, you still have the issue with people cleaning rooms and cooking food not being in the bubble.
Yeah.
Now, those are low priority transmission cases for the most part. It's lower chance that they will pass it on, but there is still that chance. Yeah. So it would not surprise me if it does happen. I mean, I fully expect somebody to get it and everybody will be, see, you should have stayed locked down. No, we should have had some entertainment, damn you. But as long as nobody dies over it, I'm pretty much good with somebody getting it. I mean, it sounds heartless.
Yeah. If you think about it, these are professional athletes, like they're least at risk, right? Some of these coaches maybe are more at risk, the ones that are maybe older or less fit. Peter, I'm sure he would just fight off the coronavirus with his fists and his in-shape buzz cut, scare it away. Yeah, there you go, Jimmy. But yeah, I mean, probably someone's going to get it. And if you guys, I'm sure we've all been like starved for sporting content. I've listened to all the Benny Failhaver Show podcasts, and you hear these stories of them going to preseason in places or traveling and just wild stories of people going out. Somebody's going to break that bubble and leave and violate it. Now, will they get caught? Will they accidentally bring it back? Hopefully they won't get sick. But you're going to hear some weird stuff. Some stuff's going to come up. I don't know if they'll catch them and send them home, but something's going to come up.
Yeah.
Fully expected. Again, just as long as nobody gets seriously ill, it's the way it's going to work.
Do we know if they're going to allow any sort of media on site? Like, I know none of us obviously would be there, but my question, I guess, is like, when you have all of these players in a bubble for 5-6 weeks at a time, like shenanigans are bound to ensue at some point. And so like, are we going to get any of these stories, or is it going to be just MLS controlled all the time and we're never going to hear sort of some of the craziness that happens?
Well, we'll have to hear it after the fact, if nothing else. Yeah, but I could see like Beasler and those guys like doing door knocking on other teams' rooms or something.
Yeah, people pulling the fire alarm or something like that, right? And disrupting sleep the night before a game. It's a weird situation because usually the home team would be in their home, but everybody's going to be in the hotels. It'll be weird. It'll be interesting.
They'll send the rookies over.
Sporting has a player or 2 that are pretty fond of their Instagram stories, so maybe they'll share their shenanigans with us.
Very true.
I'm going to have to get on Instagram so I actually know what's happening, and I haven't posted in like 4 years, so I'm a little behind.
They're probably more likely on TikTok or Snapchat or whatever now.
Whatever these kids are into.
Yeah.
You know, I was doing good keeping up with Instagram. I had Snapchat for a while. I got rid of it just because I couldn't. Never got into it. But yeah, I'm definitely not doing TikTok.
We're gonna have to get a young staffer to get in here and like take care of this. I don't know that we have anybody that's like extraordinarily young. That well, a little bit. We have some young people.
It was supposed to be Cody, but
He's kind of sneaky old now. I mean, isn't he pushing 30?
that's old for this. But yes, they are supposed to have some media down there. I saw the requirements for requesting the credentials, and you have to have a letter that you're on assignment.
I mean, I wouldn't want to go down there and spend 6 weeks in a bubble anyway. So
It's only like 4 weeks now. Did you see how tight the schedule is? It starts on like July, well, when the games are going on, I should say, July 8th through August 11th, and it's over.
yeah,
So
that's true.
You'd have to be in the bubble for a week or so before you could talk to anybody.
that's true. Quarantine, right? I'll see if
Yeah.
my real work, can let me go work from Florida for a month. I just need the Blue Testament. Can we cover the hotel cost for a month? Is that a thing?
Yeah, no.
Okay, yeah, I threw it out there. I work remotely anyway, so.
Yeah, trust me, I already tried. I tried to get them to cover it.
I genuinely try to avoid going to Florida whenever possible.
Especially in July.
Right.
He doesn't bother me too much, and I've lived in a Disney hotel for a couple weeks before. So. I think they actually have a really nice hotel. I just don't remember which one it is.
No clue. Sounds above my pay grade.
Yeah, it's like Disney World without the screaming kids. So that would
You're selling me, Stacey. You're selling me.
as a school teacher, you know.
Well, there will be screaming kids. They'll just be academy players. No.
That's true. Yeah.
Thank you guys for coming on and talking. Thanks to anybody who actually watches this and listens. And I'll try to have this edited and posted in the morning. So, any last words?
Go to thebluetestament.com. Follow us on Twitter at Blue Testament KC. And then other stuff. I don't know those other ones.
And Instagram.
You're not going to run the Blue Testament TikTok, Chad?
I don't know what that even means.
I think Stacey should do it.
Sure. Why not?
It'd be a way for you to relate with your students.
This is true. My students are 8, but I'm sure they probably have TikTok.
I bet some of
My
them do.
daughter is 8 and she desperately wants TikTok and I will not allow it. So
My daughter is 16 and I haven't allowed it.
there you go, Thad.
Good move.
I'm tight on social media for her. One.
It's true. It's a disaster. It's like the bullying and awful, and that's a whole nother podcast that we probably should save for another time.
Yeah, we had to approve anybody who follows her on Instagram because there's just too much stupidity out there. Anyway, that's the old guy parenting advice at this point. Jimmy, did you have any last words or?
No, I mean, hey, check out No Other Pod too. If you got extra, go to Blue Testament first, read that, and then if you got more time, check out No Other Pod.
Hopefully the regular Shades of Blue soccer show podcast will get back going somewhere sometime soon.
Yeah.
Other than that, thanks again for everybody listening and watching, and talk to you later.